Hi, thanks for watching this Gratuitous Space Battles 2 video. I'm Regdrin
and I'm just the other guy.
Yeah, he's just the other guy. I really tried to play a methodical game where I would strategically choose modules to unlock according to what was coming up, because I thought that would be an interesting way to run a set of videos, right?
That's a theory.
Yes, I've seen similar things done successfully with other games. But in the end, what I did, because of the very generous point values that I got from these maps, is, well, you can probably guess already.
Buy everything.
Yeah, just... I wish it was otherwise, but... just click the unlock button a whole bunch of times. And that's how it is. So let's move on to the next battle.
What is our next battle? Oh.
Our next battle is Expert Mode Slarthoon Belt.
Oh yeah, this one.
And, well, I went full pulse, or nearly.
The very last resort.
Unfortunately, when you're dealing with just shields and hull, it pretty much has to be the first resort. So,
well, that explains your score.
Yeah. Oh, you took a look already?
Of course I checked.
Have you beaten it yet?
No.
Why not?
Haven't tried.
That would explain it, yes. I have to apologize, I was selecting the wrong ship design for this.
Yeah, that even looks wrong.
It looks so wrong. But I went down to one disruptor cruiser for this because when you have 5 disruptor bombs, usually one is enough to open up shields for everything else to pile on.
Yep.
Also, I decided that while having everything in the front line cooperative and using shock beams is a problem, it's okay if one of them has a shock beam, so I decided to design a ship specifically for that.
And let's see how it goes.
I really miss the flavor of Gratuitous Space Battles 1. I kind of get the impression that some of this stuff was done in a hurry. Stuff like...
balance.
Well, actually I was thinking of the descriptions, like... people who fire missiles at your ships think they're so clever.
Yes.
With the very plain, straightforward descriptions, it feels like this game takes itself a bit more seriously, but I really liked the sort of irreverence that was the norm in the previous game.
Well, I'm sure there are going to be mods about that sometime.
I hope so, because I miss statements like, fusing is the new blasting. They did, I think, do a little bit better with the flavor for race descriptions, though.
Yeah.
And the winning quotations. That feels more like the old space battles. My favorite especially being the genetic typo from explore the galaxy to explode the galaxy.
Yeah, that should have been caught by someone.
Well, maybe the precursors were in a hurry. Now, I tried, by the way, using sniper beams and missiles from longer range to take out frigates, but...
it didn't work.
It deliciously didn't work. Not with my own frigates, either. So, unfortunately, the design of a cruiser that walks in and pulses the frigates to death seems to be the way to go.
It usually is, which is actually a problem.
It is a very serious problem. Now, I never really got big into online challenges in the first Gratuitous Space Battles, but it seemed like there was a pretty good diversity of ship builds.
That was definitely my experience, though. The no-engine ships were just annoying.
I won't say that there were no improvements whatsoever.
We are taking radiation damage.
Let's see.
Oh, we never did explain how points work in this game.
Okay, all ships have a cost.
Depending on the hull of the ship and the things you add to the ship.
And all missions have a maximum cost value.
Yep. The basic limit of what you can put onto the battlefield.
The difference between how much you actually put on and the maximum point limit is how many points you get after you win.
Yeah.
If you win.
If you win. But you don't lose anything by losing, except some time.
And dignity.
Well, not really if you don't tell anyone that you lost. I mean, I lost plenty of times getting this one right, but no one's gonna find out about that.
Not at all. Your secret is safe. With the internet.
Yes. And the leftover points do two things. First of all, in expert mode, that becomes your score for the leaderboards, and it also becomes the honor by which you use to buy things.
So, if you're going as low as you can go, like this guy...
yeah, you can unlock things pretty fast. I mean, I don't really mind getting all the tools to play around with early. It was just a surprise when I found out about it.
Yeah, well, I'm learning that myself as I've learned to try to build the cheapest dreadnoughts possible.
Mm-hmm. Budget battleships. That, on the surface, it sounds like a horrible idea.
Enemy system scrambled.
On the other hand...
Did that with the British Strike?
On the other hand,
it's kind of something that works.
in this game. Speaking of things that work, this setup seems to be doing okay. Even though it is an extremely simple setup. Well, maybe that makes it more robust, I don't know. There are still some enemy fighters, I noticed.
Well, those can be safely ignored, as usual.
What is it, they only count in the event of a tie?
More or less.
Enemy system scrambled.
I'm hoping that in the next map I'll be able to do something a bit more interesting than just pulse cannon everything.
I wouldn't count on it.
Well, to be fair, at least I didn't go full pulse cannon. I'd like to think that the shield disruption added a bit, and I was actually kind of worried here, because... Here we go. The enemy's at 11%, and my cruisers don't really have any orders to attack fighters or frigates, so they're bumbling around shooting at random. And I'm starting to take armor and hull damage, so I was worried that...
The frigates might actually win.
Well, then the fighters, but yes. Starting to lose my backliner, and I'll start to lose one of my frontliners as well. Because pulse cannons are... Oh, must have been a lucky shot.
And yes, the British did try budget battleships, but I don't think it was for very long.
I wonder why.
Activated.
And here comes the next Master of Unlocking scene.
Only 2 things left.
I sure had to put a lot of thought into that one. Well then. Let's move on to the next map and see if we can find something more interesting.
Galactic battle mode
Go.
activated.
Next up is Palivost 9, or however you pronounce it. This is a much more straightforward map when it comes to deployment anyway. The anomaly is engine power reduced by 34%.
Sorry, fighters.
Yeah, this makes it a very fighter-unfriendly map, not that it stops the computer from deploying lots of them.
Well, hey, that's just a percentage of the fleet you don't have to worry about.
I suppose. For my lineup, I don't have any dreadnoughts even though they're allowed. This is kind of an experiment to see if I need dreadnoughts to take down computer dreadnoughts.
The answer, as you've probably guessed, is no if you're watching this video.
Probably not. I still need quite a few flak things in front to deal with the enemy gunships because they love their torpedoes in this map.
Yep.
They also like their frigates. There's 6 towards the lower part and 4 towards the upper part, and if you think that's a lot, you haven't seen expert mode yet.
Oh, yeah.
And
Design mode.
I found that I needed... When you're not going for a disruption, you need a lot of backliners with anti-shield weaponry, because while they're light on the armor, they tend to go pretty heavy on the shielding.
Especially since I believe this is the race that's all about shielding.
Well, I did take a look at a few of their cruiser designs, and they go double heavy shield, which
Enemy
is,
fleet detected
for a
ahead.
cruiser, it's ridiculously expensive. That's 800 points right there, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's...
Targeting support needs.
Something that only the defending side can get away with, because they don't have to worry about pesky things like cost.
Exactly. So... we're beginning to see the problem with fighter deployment in this map.
At least with this particular kind of order. Telling them to stick together and all rush in leads to this sort of thing happening.
Aflac Holiday.
Aflac Holiday, yes. It's like fireworks, except people are dying. Or in Gratuitous Space Battles parlance, it's like fireworks, except aliens are dying.
Okay, frigates, no big deal.
Not in this map.
Not in this game.
System scrambled.
I decided to, despite the engine penalty, go for speed as much as I could on my cruisers. That is, I put an extra subspace engine on each one of them. The goal was to get into battle on the lower side as quick as I could, so that the dreadnoughts on the upper side would be too slow to join in time to do anything.
Yeah. My strategy for expert was just to use 5 dreadnoughts.
Yeah, but we're not talking about expert here.
Oh, alright.
5 dreadnoughts and nothing else?
Well, some escorts.
Okay. Well, we'll go over that next time.
This time, however...
It turns out that the speed advantage seems to be working out, and yeah, the Dreadnought does have some armor. Actually, this might be a good time to explain how armor works for those who are not in the know.
Okay, there's an armor value and an armor threshold value. The armor value is how much damage your armor can take before it goes away completely and you start taking hull damage. And the armor threshold value is its resistance to piercing.
Yeah, your total armor health divided by the number of ship modules is your armor resistance. A high resistance means many weapon types will just bounce off.
Shield support needs activated.
Now, this sounds like a problem for Dreadnoughts because they have a huge number of modules. To make up for this, all Dreadnoughts have a very hefty armor bonus.
Enemy system scrambled.
Also, even though they have a very small number of modules, fighter armor is just so pitiful that it...
You might as well not take it.
Well, I don't know if I go that far. The extra health could be helpful, but nothing will bounce off of it, really.
Yep.
Enemy system scrambled.
Yeah, even, we went over, the flak gun has a penetration of 10.
and that's higher than anything. Against anything that's not a fighter, an armor penetration of 10 would be not so great.
Yep.
Another reason I go extra heavy on the shield destroying things is that once, especially a dreadnought starts to take shield damage, you can run into a very annoying kind of problem, which is some of the shield generators will blow out, but some will stay up, meaning what the weapon actually hits is kind of randomized. So if you're unlucky, you could get your beam lasers bouncing off because the shield strength is too high, and your anti-shield things doing nothing because you get an armor too thick message.
Correct. However, this seems to be going pretty well.
Look at all those support ships. The enemy seems to love its shield support things, and for good reason. They go a long way towards helping things stay alive, especially when you have 10 or 12 of them focusing on a couple of ships.
Yeah, that's what caused me trouble in the previous map we covered.
Well, I told you my solution for that.
Yes you did.
So, once again, shield disruption is temporary, but it ignores shield boosters because it technically doesn't do damage to the enemy shields. The problem is the shields will come back after a little while.
But in that time you should be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah. In this case, well, I found that even with this many supports, when you have 3 dedicated anti-shield things focusing fire on one ship, the supports will generally not be enough.
Or they will have blown up at one point or another.
Well, I did blow a few up, but you can still see there's still a fair number in the back line.
Oh, there they are.
Maybe they're out of range. And we have, still 2 dreadnoughts and some cruisers against what I've got. It's a fairly even battle, hit point wise.
Design-wise, you have the very clear advantage.
Well, that was my goal. Now, the reason I'm playing this game instead of Gratuitous Space Battles 1 is, well, actually it's twofold. First of all, I don't have any expansions for the first one, so the variety is not quite what it should be. And the second being, I find many things about this version of the game pretty interesting, like anti-missile defense being the job of destroyers instead of cruisers being good at nearly everything. Which makes it kind of a shame that most single-player battles don't really use point defense destroyers very much.
Well, I think there are still bugs with the point defense lasers.
Yeah, but the EMP ones work just fine. And thankfully, since there aren't any fighters or gunships hanging back and escorting, I won't have the problem that I ran into last time.
Yeah, if you really want to see people go heavy on point defense, play online challenges.
Really? I didn't know that was a thing, considering the ineffectiveness of fighters when points are in balance.
Well, the thing is, destroyers are still in there to deal with missiles.
Oh, so they add some anti-fighter defense just in case?
Well, there's that, but also missiles.
Oh, you were talking about point defense.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, in some games, point defense and anti-missile defense are sort of lumped together, like in Master of Orion 2. Actually, those 2 green ships to the left are anti-missile. There are just not many of them.
And you don't use missiles that much.
Not in this build, no. I use torpedoes quite a bit, actually.
And there we go.
Yeah, and there we go. So this was straightforward. Expert mode of this is definitely not, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about there.
Oh yes, we will.
And until then, I'm Regdrin, and this is some other person.
Yep.
Research
And we'll see you later. Thanks for watching.
Mm-hmm.